Welcome to Project Car Media and welcome to the last video of the Nissan 200 SX SER budget restore. Today we're going to be finishing up the car, getting it ready for sale. We're going to be cleaning the exterior, taking off some stickers and buttoning up just a couple little things. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to go through the cost of the car, how much I have into it, and then you guys can tell me whether I'm upside down in the car, whether I have some money left on the table, or if I'm gonna break even. So go ahead and stick around to the end to see that. If you didn't watch the end of the year video that I posted a couple weeks ago, I announced that I did have some t-shirts made. These are like a concrete gray with a black logo. I think they turned out awesome. And if you want one, go ahead and shoot me an email. I put it right here on the screen for you. And I have very limited numbers, so if you want one, shoot me an email and we can get it all set up and I can either run it over to you if you're in the area or I can mail it out to you. So any purchase of the shirt supports the channel and is much appreciated. So anyways, let's go ahead and dig into the car and get it all finished up. All right, so the first thing I wanted to address about the Nissan was the electrical issue that Billy over at Peak Innovations found during the last video. I didn't really address what was fixed, so I thought maybe I should just let you guys know if anybody's curious. And basically what he told me was that he found the contacts inside the socket were touching and therefore like grounding out. So I mean, I looked at that thing a million times, but apparently I didn't look at that. Once he fixed that, put the bulb in, now the turn signals work. So just thought I'd let everybody know what the fix on that was. Now if you guys remember a couple videos ago, I had a couple check engine lights and one of them was the MAF and one of them was the crank position sensor. And I said I was going to deal with that later. So that is something that we were going to try to deal with in this video. Unfortunately, off camera, I did a bunch of searching and research on where the crankshaft position sensor is on this engine, and I'm 99% positive that somebody swapped the transmission for an earlier SER transmission because this transmission does not have the crank position sensor in it at all. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, now if you look down here, right down there, there should be a sensor that sticks out of the transmission and a wire that plugs into it. Now there is no sensor, but check this out. I found this wire just hanging and it's zip tied to this hose right here. And it's a 2-prong connector, which is what the crank position sensor is. So my guess is that somebody swapped the transmission. Fortunately, that sensor, all it does is for diagnostic purposes for the ECU. It does not make the car run any different. It doesn't make it idle any different or anything like that. It's just to tell the ECU if the engine's misfiring. And I would really hope that you would know if your engine is misfiring and not need a code to tell you that. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to leave that check engine light there. There's nothing that I can do about it. I'm not gonna be drilling a hole to put the sensor in or anything like that. So that was one thing I wanted to look at, and unfortunately there's nothing we can do about it. On the outside, we've got a couple things to do here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but we got this sticker right here that we need to remove. Then further down here, we have this sticker that's actually on the inside of the car that we need to take off as well. That'll be pretty much it on the outside. We will need to give the outside of the car a really good wash. It hasn't actually been washed. I don't even know how long, and I haven't washed it. So we're definitely going to give this an external wash. Even with the paint issues, I think the car is going to look really, really good. So let me show you what we're going to be doing on the inside. Okay, we're on the inside of the car and I gotta say, like, it smells so good in here. When Harry came out last video and cleaned the inside of the car, it was just like a godsend because now when I get in this thing, it smells good and it feels like a real car again. It's awesome. So what we're gonna be doing in here is we're gonna be trying to take off the window tint on these windows. It should hopefully go pretty easy, just a little bit of heat from my heat gun, and I've got a plastic razor blade that should also help as well. The other thing that we're going to fix is this. We are going to take those pedal covers off. I've been waiting since like day one to do this. Now the last thing that I wanted to kind of troubleshoot a little bit was the radio. I didn't get it to turn on, so I thought, you know, maybe the deck is, I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with it. It's a really, really old deck, but I was able to turn the deck on. So the deck does work, but no sound come out of the speakers. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. We'll start under the hood, get some of that stuff cleaned up, move to the outside, get the sticker on the windshield removed and the sticker on the inside here removed, and then we'll move in here, take off the pedal covers, try to attempt to take off the window tint, clean the windows, and then at the very end we're going to give this thing a really good wash and get some final cinematic of what it looks like compared to what it used to look like. So let's get started. Alright, so now we are going to move on to the window tint. This is something that I've never done before, but it seems pretty straightforward on how to take it off. It looks like it is a really old tint. Luckily, the window actually separates over here away from the frame, so I can get a corner going right here, heat it up, and use my my razor blade to start peeling it back. And just got to keep it heated, because if you don't keep it heated, you can leave residue, and it can turn into a mess in no time. So let's give it a shot, because this is definitely going to look better without. All right, so I am about halfway done with this window, and as you can see, it's actually coming off really easily. I thought it was going to come off in a bunch of little strips and stuff, but I'm actually getting it to come off in one big piece. And what I'm finding is the trick is just to keep the tint heated up. If you keep it heated up, you won't get any residue on your window, and it'll all come off in one piece. Now I do have some residue up here and stuff that I need to get off, because I was going a little bit too fast and it pulled some of the residue off. But yeah, I mean, it's fairly easy, and I'm just gonna, I still have this strip, I have a strip over here I need to get, and I'm just gonna like get down to down here and then roll up the window and pull it all off. So far so good. I'm gonna keep going, and I'll update you guys when I get at least the front window done, and then show you guys what it looks like. I got the driver's side window done, and it was not that bad. Check this out. This is all one piece. It all came off pretty much in one piece, and it went pretty good. Like, there's still some residue on parts of the window. Yeah, success on the first window. And something pretty funny here is, check this out. I don't know if you guys can't really see it, but there's the Clifford sticker for the old alarm system is still on the tint as well. So look at the window. Window is so clear. It's really funny because it just looks like a stock window now, you know, like kind of how it used to be. But this window alone took me probably about a half an hour or so. The rear windows and the back window have bubbling, so I'm hoping those will actually come off quicker and easier. Now, if you are gonna try to remove some tint yourself, let me just show you. I'm actually using the Harbor Freight brand Bauer heat guns, and I'm actually using, if you can see right on the back here, setting number 4, and the second click up, that's what I was using. I was just waving it back and forth where I was peeling it off, just keeping the gun probably about 4 or 5 inches away, just kind of going back and forth. And what I'm finding out is as long as you keep the tint hot, the goo will come off with the tint and you won't have any residue. But unfortunately, there was some spots where the residue did come off onto the window. But other than that, mostly successful. So I'm gonna do the rest of the windows and then I'll show you guys the finished product. Okay, it has been a couple days since I started removing the tint from the windows, but I got all of the tint off, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm never gonna do that again because it was an absolute pain. Took a total of about 5 hours, and the rear window ended up pretty good, but there's, you know, it's not perfect. So yeah, let me show you guys all of the tint that I took off. It's sitting right here. As you can see, some of this is clear, and that's because the rear window, when I went to go take the tint off, the tint and the film actually separated. And so I had this really thin tint that with the adhesive underneath, and I had to use a razor blade. So I ended up using probably about 10 razor blades. Like I said, all the windows took me about 5 hours, and I can't wait to show you. It looks amazing, but I'm definitely never doing that again. The only cool thing about this process is that I found out a little bit more history on the car. Not really anything super important or noteworthy really, but what I noticed was that on the driver's side, the driver's side window and the driver's side rear window, the tint came off all in one sheet, and it was really easy and it came off great. The tint on the passenger side, front and rear window, as well as the back window, was much harder to get off. It was streaking more. It was definitely a lot more baked on there. So what that tells me is that when this car did sit for a long time, it most likely sat facing east with the sun rising and shining on the passenger side windows all day, and then setting and baking the rear window. And then the driver's side windows didn't really get touched that much. That's kind of what I got from removing this tint. That's the only thing I can think of as to why the passenger side was a lot harder to do than the driver's side. But without further ado, let me show you what the car looks like with no window tint. I haven't washed it yet. We're gonna do that next. But man, it looks so much more like a stock car now with the window tint. Yeah, I am super excited on how that turned out. It looks so much better. And so now we're pretty much on the last thing to do on this car, which is pull it out into the driveway, give it a really good wash, and then we're gonna go take some video in the same place that I took video on this car when I first got it. And then we'll come back, sit down, and I'll talk about finances. I'll tell you how much I spent on this car, how much I put into it, and how much I'm into it total. And then again, you guys can tell me whether I'm way upside down in this car, or whether you know, I'm breaking even, or whether I'm gonna make some money depending on what I list at. So I'll explain all that later. For now, let's go ahead, get this thing washed, and we'll see you guys at the park. All right, we are back at the house. I'm on my computer, and I've got the spreadsheet up here with all the costs for the car. I'm gonna have to add one, I think, which I'll tell you about here in just a second. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into all the costs. I have a spreadsheet where I was keeping track of everything. So let me show you that right now here. Okay, so here is the spreadsheet that I created where I was keeping track of all the costs of the car. You can see everything here. Let's go ahead and start at the top here. I bought the car at auction for $1,000. Now the auction fee was 165 bucks, and then I actually registered it to myself. So that was $231. So my total cost for the car itself was about $1,400. I really would have liked that to be more around the like $1,000 or $1,100 mark. You know, I was into it for 1,400 bucks. I knew that it needed some maintenance and stuff like that. I knew that these cars sell for around $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 depending on the condition of it. And I've seen some of the, I saw one go on Bring a Trailer last year go for $6,000, but it was a white one with 100,000 less miles, and it was super clean, super stock. So mine is definitely not that. So I thought, you know, I still have some meat on the bone here. So let's go through the maintenance. All of these things that I have here on the maintenance, these are just the prices of everything. I haven't included tax, but I included it in the total on the bottom. So a bunch of small things that need to get replaced. Did need those new wheel studs, so I had to buy those. The tires, they needed to get replaced, so I had to get those. And then, you know, the big heavy hitter was my trip to Peak Innovation Motorsports. I spent about $800 there, and that was for them to mountain balance my new tires. That was for them to buy a new power steering line and install it. That was to install a new piece of pipe welded in on the exhaust. That was also to diagnose the turn signal issue. And so that's what it ended up coming out to after tax. The power steering line alone was $175, which kind of sucks. Again, if it was a more common car like a Civic, probably wouldn't have that issue. Total with all of the maintenance that I put into this, I'm into it for $1,757. Now, there's something that I'm leaving out of here, and it just happened today. While I was driving home from doing the shoot at the park when it was all clean, I got on it a little bit, and when I was turning right, I heard like some kind of scraping, but it was like a rotating scraping noise. And I heard this noise once before when I was driving over to Peak Innovation Motorsports, and I heard it right before I got there. Same thing, when I was turning right, I heard some kind of noise. And again, I got on a little bit on the way over there. So I didn't think much of it. We put it up in the air. We couldn't find anything that was scraping. You know, the wheel wasn't scraping on the brakes or the suspension or anything like that. So I didn't think much of it, and it hasn't done it since, but it did it today after the car warmed up and after I got on it a little bit. So I think at this point it's the axle, the driver's side axle, which is unfortunate because I'm ready to sell this car. So I don't have the time or the tools to do the axle in my garage, so I'm gonna have to take it back over to Peak Innovation Motorsports, and I'm assuming that is going to be about $200 for the axle and the installation. So if you want to tack that on to here, that puts me at $1,957 in maintenance. So my total cost with this new axle issue, I found out, is $3,353. Now, I thought I was doing pretty good at the $3,153 mark, but after having to replace this axle, I'm just not sure. Between the paint issue, the check engine light, which again, the check engine light doesn't do anything. It's just there for diagnostic purposes for the ECU, that sensor that's missing. The paint issue, the blinkers are kind of weird. All the lights work and everything, it's just the blinkers are kind of weird. The radio not working. I mean, between all those things, I'm just not sure how much money I can get for it. I mean, what do you guys think? Post down in the comments like what you think I could get for the car. I'm looking at now probably just breaking even. I was thinking about listing the car for $4,000 just because it's a rare car. It's cool. I put a lot of maintenance into it. It runs great. And I put a lot of time into it as well. And I was thinking, you know, I could ask for $4,000, maybe expect about $3,500, and that way I could, you know, make my money back plus a little bit. So that's kind of what I was thinking as far as price goes. I don't know. I'm almost tempted to list it for what I have into it as well, because I'm not trying to argue for a couple $100. You know, I could put all these videos on the ad, and I can let them know that I'm exactly into it for this much. This is how much I want. I'm not trying to make any money. I'm just trying to get my money back so that I can afford the next project for my channel. I don't want to get lowballed. I don't want to take anything lower than that really, but then again, you know, I do need to sell this car and move on. I definitely ended up a lot more into this car than I thought I would be into. I thought I might be into it for 2,500 bucks. That's, you know, that's about what I thought. And then I thought, well, I can sell it for, you know, 3,500 and make a decent little profit on it. But unfortunately, you know, that's just not a realistic thing. So yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comments what you guys think I can get this car for. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the 200SX SER. I had a lot of fun with it. I spent a lot more money on it than I thought I would, but overall, in the end, it's a great car, and I would definitely suggest it for an autocross car. I'm just gonna like put it out there, see what I can get for it, and go from there. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this series. I am trying to keep these little budget restores to about 6 videos to get them from, you know, buying the car, revealing it, working on it, maybe doing some aftermarket, and then to the point where I'm going to sell it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everybody who watches and subscribes and follows along on these series. I really have a lot of fun doing them. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, and also don't forget to pick up a shirt. I'm not wearing it today because it got dirty the other day, but don't forget to send me an email. I'll put my email right on the screen. Again, I have pretty limited quantities. Thanks so much for watching the budget restore on the Nissan 200SX SER, and we'll see you guys on the next video.